This episode of the Infamous Podcast is brought to you by CBS All Access. Looking for a new streaming service to add so you can watch more stuff? Check out CBS All Access. Hit up infamouspodcast.com/CBS and you can get a free 1-week trial to CBS All Access and check out things like Star Trek Discovery, Picard, Survivor, all the other cool stuff that CBS has to offer. Star Trek Discovery, I said that already. You should really watch that. So hit up infamouspodcast.com/CBS to learn more. Hey, welcome back to the Infamous Podcast. This is episode 241, Artemis Foul. Anyway, I'm Brian. With me as always is Daryl. And before we get started, thank you to our Patreon patrons, Julianne Brown, and whoever else wants to be the next one. Check it out, infamouspodcast.com. Just click on the link that says Patreon, and it'll take you right there. While you're there, also check out infamouspodcast.com/CBS to get your free 1-week trial to CBS All Access and get caught up on Star Trek Discovery before the new season comes out at some point in the very near future. Anyway.
Yeah, they really need to come on now.
Yeah, right. Get on it. What's up, Gerald? How you doing?
There's a lot of these shows that we know are coming soon, but
I'm actually really surprised they haven't started pulling some of these things forward. Especially for the streaming only type shows.
Yeah, we finally got a date for Umbrella Academy season 2.
Yeah, we got that a couple weeks ago on July 2nd or whatever it is.
July 2nd.
I think that's when it comes out.
No, 31st.
Oh, July 31st. Okay, whatever. But it came out a little bit ago. But anyway, all right. So this week we are talking about the Disney Plus original, in air quotes, film, Artemis Fowl. And you can spell foul however you like. We are talking Star Wars
Spoiler alert.
Squadrons, the forthcoming flight simulator game that is coming out. And then we've got some cool news stories, some actual Disney Plus Star Wars stuff, the adaptation of Frank Miller's Cursed and coming to Netflix. And then David Koepp, one of the writers from Spider-Man, the Tobey Maguire one, is concerned about his difficulties pleasing fans by not making things that people want to see. Wait, did I let my opinion out on that already?
Yeah. Yeah, it was funny. One of the comments I read was, well, just follow the source material.
Right?
See? So easy.
All right. So
Artemis Fowl.
Yeah, well.
And I don't even know the books. We'll talk about that later.
Yep, we will talk about that at the end of the episode. We definitely strong opinions. I might actually after we're done record something with Haley because she liked it and I kind of want to make fun of her for liking it.
Jeez.
Anyway, that would be so
You're
mean.
a monster.
Eat me. Like the gingerbread man and what's it called? All right. So apparently we're going to get a whole lot more Star Wars in the future, and it's all going to be live action TV shows.
I'm okay with that.
And it looks like The Mandalorian season 2 is going to be used to make a bunch of backdoor pilots. So one of the things that first off, if you guys want to see some really good coverage on this, check out the Nerd Den on YouTube. I don't know, Daryl, do you follow him?
No, I don't.
The Den of Nerds. Den of Nerds. The Nerd Den is the studio where I sit. And when you sit occasionally, when you travel north of the wall to come up here. Yeah. But so he's done a lot of really good stuff, and he actually coined the term the Star Wars MCU, which apparently he's gotten a lot of hate in his comments about, but I kind of really like that. So,
but of course he does.
Yeah.
Because what's this world now without hate? I don't agree with something you say.
So, but actually, the Disney Plus people are using Game of Thrones as the comparison, and apparently this is building off what the Double D's had started to put together before they signed that fat Netflix development check. and abandon Star Wars, which, to each their own how they feel about that. But essentially it's going to be a bunch of separate shows that are interwoven story-wise throughout the Disney Plus cinematic universe. So the plus CU. That sounds so stupid. Anyway, I'm super excited for this. This is what we've needed with Star Wars for a long time. I think doing this as a TV, streaming, whatever type of a thing, is the best way to move past the Skywalker saga and then open up the cinema to more standalone stories.
Absolutely. And the two most important letters is you're talking about the double D's, the double F's. Filoni and Favreau are going to be over. I think Filoni's going to be overseeing it, but they're both going to be involved.
Yep.
Which, again, what we've done, what Favreau and Filoni has done with The Mandalorian, what Filoni did with Rebels, and did he do Clone Wars?
Yep.
Yeah. The storytelling for the most part in those shows. These two guys can do.
Outside of Star Wars too, Filoni was on Avatar: The Last Airbender as well.
Okay.
So
okay,
this guy has chops out the wazoo, right? But I mean, he can go to George and be, last time we met, I was but the learner. Now I am the master. Because he has become the master of Star Wars. And he's going to oversee this. Favreau, I think, is probably going to slide into that like Feige-esque role to kind of oversee all of it. And then I think did you watch any of the behind the scenes Mandalorian stuff?
I haven't finished it. I watched the first 2 episodes.
Okay.
And that was the second one about the directors when Filoni was talking about how he got into Star Wars.
So when you get to the one called the one about the technology where they talk about the volume is the set in which they shoot. And basically what it is like, instead of like green screens, they have this like super high def dome screen that they can just put whatever background they want in there. And then like build like some set pieces in front of that, and like they can make changes on the fly and really kind of, so they treat it, so they're storyboarding and they're shooting a lot of this stuff like animation. And because when, listening to Filoni talk in that second episode about the directing, the way George had them do Clone Wars, they did a lot of blocking like they would do for actors, and then they would go and draw it for the animation.
Ah, that's interesting.
So this is really cool.
Yeah, I need to get back to that special, but yeah, I think we talked about it a few weeks ago how them focusing on the TV, the television side of things of Star Wars instead of the big screen, is both of us were fine by it. And this, like, I am very excited for this again because of the 2 individuals involved.
Oh yeah,
and they're going to have a plan. They're not going to just do, a trilogy and, not have a, outline of where they're going to go.
So
these guys are going to do that.
Hopefully what they do is they kind of undo some of the sequel trilogy. I didn't hate all of the sequel trilogy, right?
No, me neither.
I liked The Force Awakens. I thought it was a great reintroduction to Star Wars, even though it was a retread of Star Wars.
Absolutely derivative.
I liked I liked all the Rey and Kylo Ren stuff from The Last Jedi.
Yes.
Everything else in there was hot garbage. And then I liked The Rise of Skywalker, but I feel like it was a standalone movie. It was not the end of a story. Or it was episode 8, and like maybe in 2022 they really have the real episode 9 coming out, and they'll just be like, yeah, The Last Jedi never happened. That was like episode 7.5. But yeah, I don't know. I think the cool thing about this is this is what we've been, as fans, been begging for from Star Wars, is to give Dave Filoni the reins to a larger chunk of the universe and let him run with it.
Yeah, and to your like when we were just talking about, I was a big fan of The Force Awakens. Granted, part of that was a nostalgia factor. Part of it was Daisy Ridley. I love her.
Wow.
Yeah, I was going to say Ben Solo, Adam Driver. But yeah, both like their part in The Last Jedi was very salvageable.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Not to salvage a movie, but and The Rise of Skywalker, Abrams made a lot of mistakes. Some of it was because of what happened before. Other things I would say, like I'm not going to put it all on your favorite guy, Ruin. But
I mean, Greg Grunberg did ruin a lot of the trilogy. I'm not gonna lie.
I didn't you just say you like jumped up and down when he got shot down?
I did not jump up and down, but I may have done a little like yes,
a fist pump,
a little like fist pump, yeah, like the little meme of the little baby like bringing the fist down, like the elbow down thing. Anyway,
yeah.
But no. I will say this. I really want them to be very deliberate in who they pick as the creators that they do with these TV shows, right?
Absolutely.
I think Deborah Chow needs to be a part of any creative team that they put together. I think Ruk Fukuyama needs to be a part of any creative team that they put together because I like the heist one, like so I just rewatched The Mandalorian over the last weekend or whatever when I was just taking time to ice my hip, and I found that the 4 episodes that they did collectively were probably the ones that I liked the most outside of the finale with that Taika directed. But I like the one that Bryce Dallas Howard directed. It was a great kind of slow down and reset what was happening with Mando and the child, and we were finally introduced to Cara Dune, and I would like to see all of them. Like I'd like to see more from Bryce Dallas Howard because I thought the action that she did, even though it was very Earth based, it would have been great to see that, to see what she can do with a space battle. Because I mean her dad. Obviously, the best parts of Solo were the Millennium Falcon flying, doing the Kessel Run, and so she definitely has that visual style. But I'm excited. Like if we're really getting a live action Ahsoka and we're gonna really get a live action Rebels follow up, I want to reiterate. If anyone from the story group is listening, which they're probably not, but if anyone knows anyone in the story group and they can share this, Dev Patel as Ezra Bridger is 100% must. I mean, I called it. So I called Donald Glover as Lando years before they announced it. Years, right? When they first were like, hey, we might do a Solo movie. I'm like, great, hired. You can go back and listen to the podcast. There's a tweet about it 2 years before they announced it. Dev Patel as Ezra Bridger is 100%. And then I saw a rumor that Sasha Banks from WWE might be playing Sabine Wren. I love Sasha. Love her. She's my favorite. She's my current favorite. She's my favorite female wrestler currently wrestling, right? I don't know if she can act. So
that's where I'm kind of I don't know.
So if she can act, awesome. But I trust them, especially with Dave and John in charge.
Has she been in anything before?
No. I mean, she plays a character. She plays Sasha Banks on WWE, and she's fantastic at that. So, who knows? But I will say this: the last thing is, whatever they do, I want them to do the behind the scenes documentary series for everything.
Oh, I love. Yeah, that is. I'm a fan of behind the scenes director commentaries. I'm a fan of all that. I've watched it. I watched them for most of the MCU movies that they have them for. So I just love that stuff.
Right. So if you go watch, once you watch the one about the technology, there's a book called The Droid Maker, and I've talked about it on the podcast before. It's a book about the rise of Lucasfilm and Industrial Light and Magic, and there are things that Jon Favreau asks for. When he came over to Star Wars to do The Mandalorian, they're like, oh yeah, George has been working on that. Technology he thought he made up. And the people at ILM are are the people who should save society.
Yeah.
They are the smartest people on the planet. Sorry, NASA.
Yeah.
Anyway.
They're pretty awesome.
All right. So all right. So the Kenobi series, there's talk about a Boba Fett series, which I'm not really interested in.
That was the one that was the only one out of the group that I just said, I'm not really interested.
And
I mean, I'll watch it.
I want the Cassian Andor K2SO series, but only if it's following that like alleged storyline that he was actually an Imperial double agent. Because I think that's a really cool idea. Because we saw a bunch of like rebels, do it the other way, but there weren't really a whole lot of like Imperial spies. Like we never heard about them. They kind of treated like the Imperials like they were this bumbling organization when the ISB was, the top intelligence agency in the galaxy.
Yeah, that seems like that's a misstep not to include that in some type of in canon in some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. Absolutely. All right. So moving on. You've watched this trailer. I haven't. I'm going to play it here in a sec. And we can talk about it. Do you want to cue it up so you can watch it? Actually, just like turn the volume down on yours.
Hold on.
And then we can discuss Cursed, which I am not familiar with this Frank Miller book. But it's an Excalibur story, so I'm all in. I think I'm really hoping Frank Miller can. I don't know how old this one is, but I'm hoping he can kind of turn it around because I do like to say he hasn't written anything good since before RoboCop 2. So, anyway, you ready?
All right.
I'm going to hit play now. All right. So it opens up with, it looks like Catherine Langford's eyes, and then an old man with a sword with, okay, this is like the most Frank Miller thing. It's got it's got like that whole
300.
Zack Snyder 300 thing. There's a kid. Some girl gets tackled. Okay. Creepy deer people. Oh, Floki. Nice.
Floki.
So he's not related to any of the Skarsgårds. Did you actually know that?
Yeah, he is.
He is? How? I don't think he is.
Yeah, he is.
Oh, okay. So, all right. So we've got a One True King sword. Speaking of a good One True King sword movie, King Arthur: Legend of the Sword, highly underrated. Guy Ritchie.
I love that movie.
All right. So she's the One True King with the sword, or she's cursed to have the sword. Interesting. And she's got some weird like scars coming out of her face. All right. Cursed. July 17th.
July 17th.
Is this a movie or a show?
It's a show.
Oh, cool.
So have you ever read any of the Shannara books?
No, and I haven't watched it on MTV either. So
yeah, the MTV one it's rough. It's speaking of when we're talking about keeping the source material, like,
well, I'll say
I like the actors who are on the show, but the actual product it's really hard to get through. Now, Manu Bennett is in it. He actually plays Alanin, like the druid, like one of the main characters in one of the series.
Yeah.
But and again, some people see this and think, just automatically think, again, I understand, people are getting bombarded with this so much and the gender bending of certain characters. This from what I read, is a little different. This actually tells a story of her becoming the Lady of the Lake.
Okay.
And the reason I mentioned Shannara is I can't remember I don't know if it was the first trilogy. There are so many Shannara trilogies. They're pretty much the same, but good stuff. But one of the characters is her journey. There's a thing called the Elcries, and
wait, are we talking about Shannara or Cursed?
Shannara.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm gonna make the connection.
Okay.
Like, this is one of those, like, it's kind of like she's like the princess in the Shannara, one of the Shannara series, who basically her mission is to, get these stones, and she ends up becoming the Elcries. It's a tree that basically prevents the demons from getting into the world of Shannara. Okay. So people look at this, and because I was just looking at some of the comments, and they think it's one thing, but it's like, no, yes, she might get the sword, but at least from what I read, it looks like it's her journey to become the Lady of the Lake. So,
okay.
I mean, again, it's the trailer doesn't give you much at all, except like you said, the Frank Miller,
Okay,
Zack Snyder.
so the summary of the comic is the Lady of the Lake is the true hero in the cinematic twist on the tale of King Arthur, created by Thomas Wheeler and legendary artist, producer, director Frank Miller, featuring 8 full color and 30 black and white pieces of original art by Frank Miller. That's in the graphic novel. Okay, so. Yeah. It seems like she's hiding and she comes out. All right, so I don't feel like they're gender bending anything here, which again I don't necessarily have a problem with, but
no, what I was saying is that people see this and that's what they automatically think, because studios have, like, over the last few years, have been doing this.
People are stupid and don't read and look things up.
Mm-hmm.
Just
but also studios are
studios are stupid too. Sorry.
Again, I like that style that we saw.
Well, we're both big fans of 300, and I'm really kind of interested to see this now, knowing it's an Arthurian legend story.
Yeah.
That being one of my favorite public domain intellectual properties. So yeah, I'm definitely
Netflix
in to check this out, man.
Yeah, I mean, just think of what's coming out next month on Netflix. The Old Guard, I think, comes out the 10th.
Yep.
Warrior Nuns, which I was telling you about, comes out like the first week, which, again, Warrior Nuns looks interesting. Not as interesting as Curse does for me. And then Curse. And I know there's other stuff coming out.
I like Catherine Langford. I liked her in the first season of 13 Reasons Why. And she showed up in the finale of season 4 in the series finale.
Spoiler.
And but she's a ghost. So not really a spoiler. And there's something that really it's really funny what happens there when she shows up. So it was a nice way to like actually end the story. But yeah. All right. So let's move on to David Keep, however you want to say it. He has worked on a lot of films. Spider-Man, Panic Room, Jurassic Park, Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Poop, amongst other things. And you shared this with me earlier. And he was on another podcast, the Real Blend podcast, and he was asked to share his thoughts about pleasing fans and why it's such a difficult thing to do. And he's talking about Spider-Man a little bit, and he goes on to talk about some other things. But his quote about Spider-Man, he says, "It's very hard. I was on Spider-Man also because at the time it was a comic book. It had been around for 35 years, and it was beloved by me and others. Fabulous, empathetic, just a brilliant design for a character. Somebody who's truly innocent, screwed up a lot, and was made to pay far more than was fair, and has been trying to make up for it ever since, but kept his sense of humor. Wow, that's a great character. Anyway, it was similar to doing that when the first Spider-Man came around, the internet was fairly young, and it was pretty nasty already. I don't remember the internet being nasty towards the original Spider-Man.
I don't know about that, but yeah, like I think he was talking about more about the internet, people being nasty on the internet, which 100% they were.
Oh, okay.
That was one of the first things I realized when I was on the internet. I was like, oh, wow, so we're going to go that way.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he kind of closes this out, and like there's a link to it in the show notes, but he says, so much noise, so many opinions, and so much Lucasfilm fans in particular are difficult to please. There's a lot of pressure, and it can be very distracting. Okay. So I'm not 100% sure how you feel about this. I have not shied away in our conversation about my feelings of this guy whining about writing things that people don't like.
I will say this. This is important as any type of creator, just a person, if you want to be successful, understand that you're not going to please everybody.
Yeah.
With that said, you have to understand if you're going to adapt something that people love, they love it for a certain reason. When you change those things that they love, expect backlash. I mean, it's not that difficult. And a lot of these studios, a lot of these writers, they make things difficult when they try to make changes. They try to be cute. And sometimes, again, it's not necessarily the directors or writers. It's people, executives that think they're smart when they're they're not smart because they obviously they're tone deaf. They think they know what they're doing and they don't. So at one hand, you're not going to please everyone. Like that's just it. But at the same time, it's a simple formula: stay as true to the source material as you possibly can.
So I'm gonna play devil's advocate here. I don't think you have to stay as true to the source material as you possibly can, but I think there are some uneditable features and characters that you just need to keep.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like things are going to change. Example: the X-Men, when they changed the suits in the first movies, and they make the joke, it made sense. And some people didn't like the change in uniform. I didn't mind it, but yeah, like you said, there are certain things. There's the heart of a property, whatever it may be, whether it's a book or a comic, whatever, that you just can't change.
Right.
So, and again, it's different for everything. Certain things have a wider range of things you can tinker with, especially with comics because of the history.
Oh yeah,
and everything like that.
I mean, let's look at Captain America for an example, right? He's been around for 70 years, just like Batman, and Joe Johnston definitely made some changes to the first Captain America movie, and they were all for the better. Part of that was Marvel in the early 2000s kind of had this little stroke of brilliance that worked for a little bit, where they did this Ultimate Universe where they rebooted all of these characters, X-Men, Avengers, Spider-Man, as if they were starting in early 2000, right? So Peter Parker, instead of being a teenager in the 40s, was a teenager in 2001. And, they were fun. They were a great thing. We got Miles Morales out of it. I think without that, we're missing a great character, and we don't get, into Spider-Verse. But we don't get the version of Thor that we see in Thor Ragnarok. That's for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that's they still stuck to some irrefutable points to the Spider-Man character. Uncle Ben dies, right? Peter feels responsible for it. Now, I will agree with him on the one thing. Is Peter, the whole thing about Peter Parker is he's fighting for redemption. And he's always trying to redeem himself. He goes through a point in the comics where he's like, no one dies. While I'm around, nobody dies. And it's this great, Sisyphus pushing the boulder uphill tale of Spidey, and that's kind of what he is. He's Atlas with the world on his shoulders. And there's a great line in Justice League Unlimited when they say, it's in the Once and Future King episode where Warhawk looks to Jon Stewart and he says, well, what do you do when you feel like you have the whole weight of the world on your shoulders? And Jon looks at him and he says, you set your feet. Right?
Well,
that's great advice.
It's like what Cap said to Scarlet Witch in Civil War. You save as many people as you can.
Superman, you can't save them all.
Yeah.
Now Jonathan and Martha Kent from the Snyderverse of Superman, you monsters. He has to save some of them. He can't let them all die, you monsters. But anyway, so reading this, I was joking, and I'm not going to say what I said before we started recording because it's, it was just mean. But, you're a creative dude, get some thicker skin. If you're out there, and yes, there are people who are going to say horrible things, but you know what? There are people who are going to say great things about it, because the first two Spider-Man movies really,
they're so good.
The X-Men movies were great, but those first two Spider-Man movies really set the tone for what modern superhero movies are. And aside from the organic webs and some of that in the first movie, it was really good. And I think part of the problem, and they tried to fix this in The Amazing Spider-Man, is they went to the Mary Jane well way too soon and ignored the whole Gwen Stacy arc that kind of set Peter up for how he is in love. for the rest of the character's life, and is still currently happening. Whereas the Amazing Spider-Man did the Gwen Stacy thing, and then they were going to introduce Mary Jane, which I felt like was the right way to go. I think the way that Spider-Man MCU version is handling this is really interesting because she's not Mary Jane Watson. Her name is Mary Jane, but she's just a girl named MJ. And she's a new character. You know, like she's a new character with the same name, which I don't necessarily have a problem with. Plus, Zendaya is fantastic in the role. So, like, that's a thing where they've skewed continuity and they've skewed canon. But it works because what do we always say? What is the most important thing in any of these things? Story.
Yeah, the character.
Story. Character.
Yeah.
And you know, it's all a slave to the story.
Yeah, and to your point about Spider-Man, you know, being this Sisyphus, again, Civil War, Peter's line, what does he say? When you have these powers and the bad things happen, you know, you're basically it's the great power, great responsibility line. So
without saying
even though they have a MJ who's not Mary Jane, even though they didn't necessarily change it, they've gone in a little different direction.
Right.
That core tenet of Spider-Man's character is still in there, which it's one of the things that people were disappointed in a sense with, you know, as much as I love Man of Steel, you know, he's about hope, and they made him kind of like a brooding 30-something in a way.
Yeah.
So,
and you know, the S stands for hope. That was really it. You know, I think part of that, you look back at the time, and I know we don't talk about politics too much, but, you know, the whole Obama campaign was run on hope. You know, it wasn't actually run, like that first campaign wasn't actually run on anything but the idea of hope. And, you know, fair enough, he won. And I'll let people argue about what kind of president he was. But so at that time when Man of Steel came out in 2009, I mean, it was kind of 2013. Thank you. It was still kind of in that zeitgeist of hope is a thing. You know, I think Star Wars went way overboard with the idea of hope in the sequel trilogy. But yeah, it's that. I mean, you can look at the Star Wars sequel trilogy. There were two creators who were in charge of those three movies, and neither one of them understood Star Wars.
No.
Neither one of them.
No, they didn't. Nope, they didn't. And again, I like I said, we both said we liked The Force Awakens, and we both liked a certain part of Last Jedi.
So, I mean, my takeaway, my takeaway from the sequel trilogy, right? Han Solo was a deadbeat. Luke Skywalker was a crazy hermit, and Leia was someone who couldn't actually get it done and just wanted to fight. I mean, am I wrong?
Not really.
I mean, that is the lasting legacy of the three most important characters, or not the three most, but three of the most important characters in all of pop culture.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ryan and JJ.
You actually called him by his name.
I was, you know, I mean, it's easy to call him Ruin. Anywho, I don't want to be one of those toxic man babies, you know. But yeah, I mean, like, they made it. She's someone who the universe was like, or the galaxy was like, I'm tired of you and your fights. And I get it. They came back and said that the First Order was blocking all transmissions throughout the galaxy. Okay.
That's some major type of technology.
Yeah, this was a group that was invading from the outer rims, but, you know, had conquered the core worlds already in a day. In a day since the Hosnian system attack. Keep in mind. Actually, not even a day. In like 17 hours. So, all right. Anywho, so David Cope, I think, like, yes, it is difficult. It is difficult to please fans when you are trying to do weird shit. You look at Deadpool. Deadpool does a great job of pleasing fans without being fan service.
Yeah. And to your point, speaking of Rian Johnson, when people say, hey, I want to piss off 50% of the fans, that shows you have no idea what you're doing.
Yeah, you're just contrarian, and fine. Make your art, make your films. From what I understand, Knives Out, people like it. It's on Amazon.
Knives Out. That was fine.
It's on Amazon Prime now. I might try and watch it. I don't know. I liked Brick. I liked Looper. So there. He's not an untalented filmmaker. Hey, real quick before we get to our main stories, HBO Max released a 30-second teaser sneak peek of the Snyder Cut.
Yes, saw
with a nice little shot of Darkseid, and it was pretty cool. So they're talking about they're going to split it up into 4 chapters.
Yeah,
honestly, just make it one 4-hour movie and let me pause it and go to the bathroom. That's all I need.
I honestly, as long as I get it, I don't care right now. I'd rather it be in a 4-hour cut, honestly.
Yeah.
But if they do 4 chapters, you know what? At least we're getting it.
Yeah.
That's the one thing I don't. After the abomination that was Justice League, I'll take.
So I rewatched Justice League yesterday, and it was as bad.
Did you not claw your eyes out?
It was as bad as I remember it. So it's the first time I've watched it since the theater.
Still traumatized.
Yeah, I was. I will say this: Steppenwolf on like a smaller, because I have a 55-inch 4K. He did not look nearly as bad as he did on a 30-foot screen. So he still looked bad, and his lips still did not actually move. And Cyborg's armor was horrible. And like the cyborg side of his head did not line up with the top of the other side of his head. Not even the hair, like it was like way lower. So that bothered me. But yeah. And then the mustache gate.
Oh man.
God, that's a hellscape of a nightmare right there. All right. So we've been talking about news for a little while. Let's move on to our first main topic here. Star Wars Squadrons. We got the preview trailer for that this week. It comes out on October 2nd, 2020, which a lot of people were surprised that was coming out this year. After you guys are done listening to this, check out Star Wars Explained. They've got a bunch of really good coverage for this, or go check out IGN's coverage. They have a lot of good stuff as well. But the summary for this is: master the art of starfighter combat and the authentic piloting experience, Star Wars Squadrons. Buckle up and feel the adrenaline of first-person multiplayer space dogfights along with your squadron, and learn what it means to be a pilot in the thrilling Star Wars single-player story. So there's two aspects to this game. There is a single-player campaign, and there is going to be multiplayer online. I will say I finished both single player campaigns of Star Wars Battlefront 2 over the weekend. So that was fun. If there's a single player campaign, I want to have it take anywhere between 8 to 15 hours. I don't want to be able to finish 2 campaigns in 3 hours.
Yeah.
That was just not fun.
Now,
it was fun while I was playing, but... And we both know I'm really bad at first-person shooters. Like, really bad at them. So
and yeah, it's not one of those games because it's a flight simulator. You can't camp in the corner.
No, but I can fly like it's nobody's business. I'm good at the flight simulators.
That's what I was going to ask, if you were a fan of flight simulators.
I prefer the flight parts of it. Like, I actually try and make those last as long as, like, the flight battles, I tried to make them last as long as I could. Like, especially there's one in the second campaign where you're fighting in an asteroid, and I kept like making them chase me around asteroids and stuff like that. So yeah. All right. So I'm super excited about this. This is from Motive, is the studio working with EA for this. It'll be available for PC download, PlayStation 4, and Xbox One on October 2nd.
So I wonder if they're going to have microtransactions, or have they learned their lesson?
They haven't said anything yet. I feel like they've learned their lesson.
Battlefront 2 was a shit show with that. Like,
well, I mean, it ruined the Battlefront 2 game. It really did.
absolutely,
because
100%.
because what they ended up doing was taking all of that stuff out and then putting out a game that wasn't actually finished.
Yep.
So, all right. So key features. There is you can plan your skirmishes with your squadron in a briefing room before taking off. So hopefully that's like a time box thing where like maybe you only have like 1 or 2 minutes to make a plan. And then you can compete in intense 5v5 multiplayer dogfights or unite your squadrons to tip the scales in monumental fleet battles together. There is the Master Legendary Starfighters. Take control of different classes of starfighters from both the New Republic and Imperial fleets. This includes the A-Wing, the TIE Bomber, the X-Wing. Oh, shoot. They don't have them all listed here. But they don't have the B-Wing, and they did not have the TIE Interceptor, which I found... Or not the TIE Interceptor, the one that Thrawn made.
Oh, yeah, what is it called?
Oh God, my brain just went blank. Anyway, the TIE Elite, whatever it was. But I'm gonna look it up. Anyway, so it's pretty cool that they have that. I'm hoping that when you are the TIE Defender, thank you. I'm hoping that when you're playing, it's not just like 10 ships out there though. Like there needs to be other ships like controlled by AI or just like NPCs just flying around that can cause issue, because the sky's going to feel really empty if there's only 10 ships out there.
Yeah. And I'm wondering if they'll have a kind of like more of a battle royale type where it's like just, and again, this might be issues with the server, not issues, but like constraints with the server or what have you, where they have dozens of ships in the sky. It'll be interesting to see where it goes. This is one of those that I would have to check out the beta before, going, because I'm not a huge fan of flight simulators. But other than, again, this will really date me, Afterburner.
Dude, I loved I actually beat Afterburner in the arcade.
I love that. That's memories right there. But
I had to be in the one that moved, right? Like I couldn't just stand there and beat it.
Absolutely.
All right. So I will say one thing. So I just talked about Alphabet Squadron, right? With you. So one of the squadrons listed in that is Vanguard, and that is the focus of the game. For part of the game is the Vanguard Squadron, which is on General Hera Syndulla's capital ship. So, and we did get Hera in the trailer, and we got Wedge. So that was pretty cool. And so if we're getting Wedge at this point, I think it means we're getting Snap's mom as well, because they're married. So, yeah. He's Snap's stepdad, by the way.
Yeah.
Which and you notice he didn't care. He didn't care when Snap got blown up. I'm just putting that out there. So
just don't screw it up, EA.
Yeah. So all right. So the StarWars.com has 5 highlights from the Squadron release. And there's a link to it in the show notes, as well as the pre-order link, which it just says pre-order coming soon. But the cool thing is it shows heroes on both sides, right? It's not just the Empire is bad, the Republic is good. The New Republic is good. I thought that was really good.
Yeah, that was really cool.
I really want to make sure that it's not just the cockpit view though, because I really like that, like looking at the back of the plane when I fly.
Like the kind of like the third person.
Yeah, the third person, because one, it's really fun to watch them do like barrel rolls, and it's less fun to just watch the screen spin. So
yeah,
there's that. The U-Wing I think will be an interesting ship, which leads me to believe there's going to be some sort of missions or like a fleet battle where you have to drop off soldiers onto a Star Destroyer, and the troop carriers in from the Empire side, having to drop them off on New Republic capital ships. So yeah, I don't know. I'm super excited for this. I think this is a really necessary game. After Battlefront 2, I think if Jedi Fallen Order showed us anything, is there is a thirst for non-online multiplayer single player story driven games. So I'm hoping that we get at least something fun from the campaign or multiple campaigns, and I think they could take a page out of like Uncharted's book and add DCLs to create different aspects or longer campaigns. I don't know what you think about that.
Yeah, that would be interesting. But yeah, I remember I read an article about a year ago where some studio head said that they thought a couple years ago that they thought single player games were dead. It's like, dude, and then it's like, oh, God of War, oh, The Last of Us, oh, like Horizon Zero Dawn, like
Uncharted,
oh, The Witcher, Uncharted 1 through 4,
Spider-Man.
Yeah, yes.
I gotta go finish that.
Dude, I'm at like 91% on the trophy wise, so I have 9% left.
I think I'm at 27% of the game being done.
Shame.
I got to the part where like there was the big explosion, and then I never went back to it.
Man.
Well, it was
Great
so
game.
much like the PlayStation 2 version of Spider-Man 2 that I did have a hard time enjoying it. I'm not gonna lie. The web mechanics in the PlayStation 2 version were superior to the PlayStation 4 version.
Yeah, I loved it. Like I loved not everything about it. There were some issues I had with it, but overall I love that game.
Yeah.
Great game. So hopefully the Squadrons will be a nice little boost in the arm of, and it'll probably it's coming out right around the time Mandalorian, I'm assuming.
This will be right in line. So I'm curious as to how much this will be canon, because Inferno Squadron is canon from Battlefront 2, and yeah, I don't know. So it looks awesome. So, I mean, honestly, if it looks as good as the Battlefront 2 space battles are, great. Just don't make it play like the Battlefront 2 space battles, because, like, there's no way to, like, really dodge, other than to do, like, barrel rolls and things like that. Whereas in the PS2 version of Battlefront 2, there were specific combinations of button presses that you could do to do, like, a flip or a loop, or, there was just a bunch of different things you could do to evade. And it took away, like, not health, but whatever, like boost. So like you maybe couldn't go as fast if you were constantly trying to do that. And don't make it where like the tiniest fleck of space dust, or like if you touch anything, you explode, because that's not how it looked. Like Star Wars doesn't do that. Like, Hera used the Ghost to knock other ships out of the way, like TIEs and things like that, and they didn't always explode. So I think, kind of make the ships a little tougher. The Republic ships will have shields, so they'll be able to like withstand a direct hit a little better than some of the Empire ships. But then the Empire ships will be like more heavily armed and faster. So
right.
Anywho. All right, so yeah, that's October 10th. Check out if you haven't watched the trailer, definitely watch the trailer, because that was really good.
So with that said, you ready to pull the Band-Aid off? I know we've been stalling a little
God,
bit.
yeah, I know. We're 48 minutes in. 49 minutes in, sorry. Okay, so Artemis Fowl. So this is a summary for the movies. Artemis Fowl is a 12-year-old genius and descendant of a long line of criminal masterminds. He soon finds himself in an epic battle against a race of powerful underground fairies who may be behind his father's disappearance. At no point in this movie do they mention his family being criminal masterminds. They go, Kenneth Branagh, who directed this movie, who, dude, you're done. Like, just period pieces from here on out. Like Shakespeare, that's your bailiwick, stick with it. At no point did they say Artemis Fowl Sr. is a criminal mastermind Artemis Fowl Sr. is a, proprietor of art and collector and antiquities dealer. Like, come on. Like, it's so frustrating.
Okay, so here are my notes. The first, probably like the first 15 minutes. Hagrid lookalike. The Raft prison. This voiceover sucks. Ireland is beautiful. I don't even know if it was filmed there. And show, don't tell.
Yeah.
They told us all of this stuff about have a drink every time somebody says he's a genius or he's smart or you'll get, dude, your liver will hate you.
Artemis
have that same have a drink.
Greatest chess player when he was 2. He learned how to poop and wipe his own butt when he was only 1 week old.
He cloned a goat when he was and
named it Bruce.
Yeah.
All right. Let's also. All right. I'm going to tell you the thing that I found most egregious about this movie. You cannot jump a one wheel without flight fins. All right. You can't jump a one wheel like it's a skateboard without a ramp. That thing weighs 30 pounds. I have the one he has. All right. And the other thing is when he hits the ground like that, that thing is stopping and throwing his 12-year-old forward. And since he wasn't wearing a helmet, he's dying from a concussion or from a head injury. Or he has traumatic brain injury where now he'll be slow.
So when I saw that scene, I immediately thought of you, and I'm like, Brian is going to hate this.
Oh, I was so mad. And Haley's like, enough about the one wheel. Enough. She's so tired of me talking about it. All right. One Wheel, Future Motion. Check it out, onewheel.com. It is the greatest personal electric vehicle you will ever have. I'm about to cross 300 miles on mine. And I've had it for like 2 months.
Oh.
Anyway.
Probably because you've been at the gym.
I rode it to the gym.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it was 6.5 miles each way. I rode at the gym, but then the next day I was doing leg day, so I was like, maybe I should drive. So I drove, and I've ridden it once since then because that was my first leg day since Coronication started. And ow.
Yeah.
Plus I have bursitis in my hips, so that really wasn't. I'm not very bright. Okay, let me talk about the things I liked in this movie because there were some.
It'll be a short list.
It's not long. I liked Colin Farrell for what little we had him. I like Nonso Anazi as Dom, because that guy's awesome anytime he shows up in anything. I liked Josh Gad as the Dwarfus Giganticus, because I like Josh Gad, even though you weren't a fan of his voiceover. But I liked that it kind of ended on a high-ish note. I think it went out with some good action. But Kenneth Branagh, you're done with genre pieces, dude. You like the way you did Thor and the way you did this and the quotes that I saw about how and why he made the changes to the stories that he did shows a distinct lack of understanding storytelling that hasn't already been written for him.
Yeah. So
or that he doesn't feel like it's something he can change like Shakespeare.
Yeah. So I really enjoyed the first Thor movie.
I did too. Never saw. Don't get me wrong.
I never saw Murder on the Orient Express, so I don't know how well he did with that. But I'll do the same as you. I couldn't stand the voiceover. Yeah. It was pointless, and it took away from the story. And it was basically a shortcut not to have to show us all of this stuff.
Yep.
Now, I did like Josh Gad as his role, like actually as Mulch Diggums. Right. I like that. I like, and again, this actually has to do with the source material. I like that the fairies had technology. I thought that was kind of cool.
That was cool.
I like Colin Farrell. I did like what was the guy's name? Dom.
Yeah. None
Holly Short.
Oh yeah.
She was okay.
Laura McDonald, an 84-year-old, even Renaissance. So yeah, she was in the lower elf police. Like, yeah, she was okay. Like, she wasn't bad. I mean, she's a kid. She's a kid actor. Like, Ferdia Shaw as Artemis Fowl, I just kind of like, okay, like,
Yeah, he was.
you need a spanking, or you need to be put in the corner. You need a timeout, dude.
Because to be honest, and I don't like I'm just not gonna like kick him while he's down or anything. But even if Brana had created a much better experience with this, he is not good enough of an actor, at least right now, to carry that franchise.
I have a hot take. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Tamara Smart, who played Juliet Butler, Dom's niece. They should have gender bent Artemis Fowl and made her the lead, because that little girl was electric every time she was on screen. She was honestly, funny, and like she was like precocious, but not in a bad way. And like, they showed us why she was a badass, right? In that little vignette of the jujitsu and being brilliant and all that.
And one of the problems I actually was going to say is, like, why was she even in there? Because they didn't even use her like they should have. And honestly, that, like, she has the charisma. It's the charisma that
I don't know what it is, but she has it.
Yeah, exactly.
She has this certain what the French call, and I don't know what. But I just thought, like, the kid that played Artemis Fowl Jr., he wasn't, like, I didn't root for him. I didn't root against him. He was just kind of there. I think, okay, so we talked last night, and so after going and looking at the looking to see about the book, like what were the differences and the changes, right? My. Okay,
and neither one of us have read the book.
Have not read the books. I kind of want to read the books now after what I did. So it's Ian Colfer is the writer of the Artemis Fowl series. Artemis Fowl is a supervillain in the books, and he is a bad guy. He's a 12-year-old dickhead who does bad things. He captures a fairy and uses the fairy as a conduit to steal gold from the underground fairy lair. How cool would that have been?
Yeah.
And they're doing multiple movies of this, right? Like, let's have a slow burn. Let's have him like get redeemed. Because guess what? Nobody wanted Ben Solo. Nobody wanted Kylo Ren to be redeemed. Everybody wanted that guy to get got in the most horrible way in The Rise of Skywalker. And no, they were able to redeem him and make us cheer for it and be happy that he saved Rey and he sacrificed himself and was redeemed in the end as a good guy. Like, these are the stories we like. Watching a 12-year-old pseudo break bad and have to tell you, oh, by the way, I'm the bad guy. It's like, nah, brother, nah.
No. And again,
go ahead.
There was nothing that this movie did to convince me that he was a genius. Not one thing.
No. You know what this movie convinced me that? Is I don't want to watch any more of these movies. Plain and simple. Like, I'm not coming. Like, who hands the 12-year-old the keys to the helicopter that he's never flown before?
And
like, they never mention him being a pilot in any of that stuff. It's like, come on.
And again, one of the things we were talking about before we started recording was the Blood Eagle. That's basically what this movie was to the source material. It held it down and it gave it a Blood Eagle.
Yeah, but the source material screamed and doesn't get to go to Valhalla.
The source material screamed, yeah. I mean, this movie was terrible.
The worst part about this movie is Dame Judi Dench.
I was about to say, I don't know.
When I see Judi Dench on a call sheet or cast sheet for a movie for the past 5 years, I'm like, ugh, I'm not watching this. She's gotten to the point where she's just so bad in movies that she's like Jack Nicholson got to the point where he was so bad in movies he was just Jack Nicholson doing different weird accents. Now she's just Judi Dench doing different weird accents.
Yeah, it's
Like she was doing the Batman voice from the Nolan Batman movies. Like, I'm an elf. You have to do what I say. Swear to me.
And one of the things I told you about, and for those listening, I don't know if you follow anybody follows on YouTube Screen Rant, which again they have iffy content, but one of my favorite things on the internet is the pitch meetings done by the Ryan George, I think.
Yeah.
And I watched the pitch meeting for this movie before I even watched the movie, and it's even like it's hilarious because
I'll tell you,
so true.
What I'm most excited for about this movie is the Honest trailer.
Oh my goodness.
That's gonna come out of this. So, yeah. Let's do a spinoff. Let's take Tamara Smart. Let's take Josh Gad. Let's take Nunzo Anazi. I guess that's how you say Dom. And let's take Colin Farrell. And let's go make a new movie without the rest of
this was like a dream
people.
This was a dream.
have it where Tamara Smart wakes up in the shower and she's like, oh, I dreamed I was a stupid Irish kid. So, oh, Daddy, I was a stupid Irish boy and you were the butler and Colin Farrell was the dad and really Colin Farrell's the butler and it's the other way around. Let's do that. So, all right. This movie has a 95-minute runtime. It could easily have been 15 minutes shorter.
It has one of the most abrupt endings where there's no real climax to this movie.
No,
none.
And like you said last night, it feels like there's 40 minutes of this movie that was actually cut out.
Yeah.
Because there's some weird fever dream you get while watching it. $125 million budget.
On what? Because for the most part, the special effects. Foley, the centaur.
Mm-hmm.
What the hell was that?
I don't know.
Narnia did that better. 15 years ago?
The time bubble was stupid, and it looked dumb, and it was randomly sucking fairies into time and space. What was happening to the people who were getting sucked into the time bubble? Yeah. All right. So let's talk some development here. In 2001, plans were announced for a film adaptation of the series. Miramax was named as the purchaser of the film rights, with Lawrence Gutterman signed to direct and Jeff Stockwell to write. In 2003, Colfer stated that the screenplay had been finalized and casting was due to start the same year, but expressed skepticism over whether or not it would come to pass. It remained in development and was assumed to be in development hell until 2011, when it was reported Jim Sheridan was interested in directing the movie, with Saoirse Ronan attached to play Holly Short. Okay, I can get on board with that. In 2013, Disney Pictures announced that Artemis Fowl, that a film covering the event of the first and second novels of the series, would be produced by Disney and the Weinstein Company. With a screenplay by Michael Goldenberg, Robert De Niro and Jane Rosenthal signed on to this project as executive producers. In 2015, Variety reported that Kenneth Branagh was hired to direct the film for Disney, with Irish playwright Conor McPherson as screenwriter. Oh yeah, it was meant to be bad. And Judy Hoffland as executive producer. On September 2017, announced the film adaptation would be released on August 9th, 2019. So this movie was supposed to come out last year. Following that, Disney removed Harvey Weinstein as a producer of the film and terminated the production partnership with the Weinstein Company, following Harvey being a very bad boy. So it also says here that Colfer stated that he supported the changes from the source material in the film. On that, I call bullshit.
That
he said that. I told you why he said that before we started. To quote Jay and Silent Bob, he wanted that fat movie check.
Or that, and I won't say or. Probably somebody had him at gunpoint when they were looking for that quote.
Mickey Mouse and Goofy had him tied up in a basement in Disneyland and were beating him with a butter sock. Yeah.
Oh, here's what you're going to say.
Well, gee, Ian, you got to say this.
And again, this is coming from someone who has never read a single line of the book series.
I have to imagine the book series has to be considerably better.
And
than
just
what we
reading
got.
some of the comments on the subreddit about people who love this series,
Yeah,
and what they changed. Like Dom, for example, even though he was a good part of the movie, you don't even learn his name until like the third book because it's so important.
right.
And it's like, why? And again, going back to David Kopp or whatever his name is, I don't care. It's very simple when you follow the source material. You don't throw it in a blender and see what comes out of it. This is what Kenneth Branagh and whoever, the creative team behind this movie did. They said, okay, here's all this stuff. Here's these 8 books. I think it's 8 books. Let's just like chop it up and just take bits and pieces of what's left, because this is a travesty of an adaptation of a beloved series.
Yep.
There's no other way to describe it.
Are you ready for the reception? The reception is not good. Okay, Comic Book Resources critics wrote, we're blasting the film for not being entertaining enough and for poor execution. Rotten Tomatoes, is what it is, has an approval rating of 10% based on 128 reviews with an average rating of 3.56 out of 10. Critics' consensus, would-be franchise starter that will anger fans of the source material and leave newcomers befuddled. Spot on. Artemis Fowl is frustratingly flightless. Metacritic fans weighed in 31 out of 100 based on 33 critics. Generally unfavorable reviews. Kate Erbland, who we've talked about before, from IndieWire, gave it a D+ and noted the film lacked an effective star, good effects, general coherency, and any sense of actual magic. Taking serious liberties with the first 2 books in the series, all the better to slim down the packed plot, one of the few creative choices that went into the film's making. Connor McPherson and Hamish McCall's screenplay eventually thins down a convoluted story to near nothingness. Peter DeBarge from Variety, the film feels torturously long at just 93 minutes. We get a movie with a loosely defined hero, an even vaguer villain, and a whole lot of things flying at the screen in service of one of those endings that suggest we watch the origin story for a character we'll never hear from again.
Not for another 5 or 10 years when they do a reboot.
Oh God. I mean,
it's just...
yeah. Anyway, let's see. Casting McConnell as Short brought accusations of whitewashing, given the character in the book series was described as having dark nut brown skin on a coffee complexion. Great. Tamara Smart, man. She would have been great in that role. I want to see more from that kid. Similarly, Azanzi's caster as the butler was criticized for the character having been described as Eurasian, who could pass as Japanese and Russian in the book series, and because the character's physical description of terrifying anyone in his presence, combined with his backstory of his family having served the Fowl family for centuries, and Azanzi's casting seemed to be embodying several stereotypes of African Americans, particularly the scary black man and black servant tropes. All right. Seriously. Like, one, that guy is awesome. Did you ever see Ender's Game?
Yes.
He's in Ender's Game. He's the Launchie's sergeant when they get to battle school. And he is so good. And he's been in a bunch of stuff, right? He was in Game of Thrones. He was the one that Khaleesi locked in the in the vault.
Oh, the vault, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, he's really, 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 really good, and like he definitely needs to be in more stuff. So let's not complain about this guy actually getting one of the few roles in this shit show that had some meat to it and that he was good at. I will say it was pretty funny when he spoiler, died, and was brought back, and he was like, "Was I crying?" And, that was genuinely funny, and that was because, again, good actor. Oh, he was in Cinderella as the captain of her guards, but yeah, he's really good. and he
Yeah,
needs to
like
be
I say, he's one of
in a
the
lot
few
more
bright
stuff.
spots of the movie.
Yeah. Oh, apparently he's in one of the new episodes of Doctor Who, one of the new seasons, and yeah. So, all right. That being said, this is a solid 3 out of 10. And that's being
2.5.
generous. 3 out of 10 is
Yeah.
being 100%. I feel like your 2.5 is probably being generous for you.
I think so too.
You know,
I mean, I've seen worse. Don't get me
oh,
wrong.
yeah. I mean, is this the worst movie ever made? No. Does this movie have an audience that will enjoy it? Yes. They're called 12-year-old girls. Because for whatever reason, she enjoyed the movie. And, you know, great. I like it when she enjoys stuff, especially when she enjoys stuff that I don't like, because then we can talk about it. And I can teach her to have, like, actual discourse. And, you know, I don't make fun of her for liking it. I mean, I make fun of her for so many other things. But anyway. But, yeah, I think this film feels torturously long at just 93 minutes. Is a pretty apt description of what this is. And if you're bored here as Coronation is winding down and still looking for things to watch, there are things that are a much better use of your time.
Don't watch this.
Yeah. Don't. Watch The Mandalorian again. Watch the Disney Gallery Mandalorian. Watch watch McFarland USA.
Watch your paint. You know what? Paint your walls and watch it dry. That'll be a better use of your time than watching this movie.
Take an old shoe and put your foot in it and like nail the shoe with your foot in it, but not your foot into a barrel, and then beat your foot with a hammer. That is a better use of your time than watching this movie.
Oh my goodness. And again, this is one of those movies that...
Do you have a bike? Find a really big hill, take the chain off the bike, and go down the hill.
Brian, this is one of those movies, like, say, a Suicide Squad or a Justice League, that the more I think about it, the more ticked off I'm going to get.
The angrier you get. Yeah. Oh, well, on the plus note, unlike Suicide Squad and Justice League, it was only 93 minutes of your time and not 2+ hours of your time. So,
oh my God.
And you know, honestly, after rewatching Justice League yesterday, not as bad as Batman versus Superman.
I thoroughly disagree with that.
It's bad, and I'm really,
because Batman versus Superman, the ultimate cut, is actually a passable movie.
See, I couldn't give 3 more hours to that movie.
Yeah. Well, which again, a lot of the glaring, you can drive a train through it plot holes of the theatrical version are cleaned up in the first 5 minutes of the movie.
Oh, like the Ben Affleck Daredevil movie.
Yeah. So. That's why, and again, I have not watched the regular cut of that movie of Batman v Superman since I went to go see it the first time. I've only watched the ultimate cut maybe 2 or maybe 2.5 times, 3 times.
Yeah,
and it's again, it has its issues. Mm-hmm. But it like Justice League, even though I liked Wonder Woman, even though I liked Aquaman, very, very little I liked in Justice League. Even less about this movie. But like you said, it's 30 minutes shorter. So
I think the only DC movie I've really liked from start to finish was Shazam.
I've liked all. Well,
I like the first. I like the first 2/3 of Wonder Woman. I like the first.
We talked about that. Yeah.
I like the first third of Aquaman and the last third of Aquaman. I didn't like the middle at all. It dragged. It was stupid. They blew their wad with Manta.
That was dumb. Yeah.
That was just, it was a waste.
Absolute waste.
You know, so there's that. But yeah, I think, you know, I want to see the Ayer cut of Suicide Squad, because you can definitely watch that movie and see that is a tale of 2 storytellers. And you know, so I mean, it's the same thing with Justice League. Joss Whedon ruined that. What was gonna be a flawed movie anyway. So like, I'm not expecting the Snyder cut to like change my mind on all of this, and like, I'm not sitting at the table with the coffee cup like Snyder cut will redeem DCU, change my mind. It won't, but you know, I'm really kind of interested to see his take on it, because. You know, I don't think I've seen all of his films. Like, I really didn't like Sucker Punch.
I couldn't finish that movie. I have not gotten through the whole thing.
Oh, speaking of not being able to finish it, like it took me 4 tries to get through Artemis Fowl. I never made it past the 20-minute mark until you texted me and said, "Should we talk about this?" I was like, "I'll power through."
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure I fell asleep at one point, and Haley woke me up. So,
yeah, this movie, like I said, it's bad all around, and both of us have similar things we pointed out that were the lone bright spots.
Yeah,
there were a couple of them, but overall, I cannot disrecommend this movie enough. I'm making up a word.
Disrecommended. This is certified uninfamous.
Yeah.
All right. So
but I would still watch this before I watch The Happening again.
Oh God. All right. In summary for this week's podcast, so Star Wars is making their own MCU. There's a really cool trailer for a new Netflix show called Cursed coming out. Go watch it on the YouTube. David Cope is a baby. Star Wars Squadrons looks cool, and Artemis Fowl took a dump on my Disney Plus account. I mean,
it was foul.
It was so yeah. This episode is titled Artemis Fowl, Foul, and no, it's not a typo. So anyway, all right. Anything else you want to talk about before we go?
No, not at all. I'm just kind of looking forward to July on Netflix in July.
Yeah,
man.
Netflix is gonna kill it in July. Hopefully.
Yeah.
On paper, they're gonna kill it in July. Let's put it.
And then we should be getting The Boys too.
Let's
not forget that.
Hey, did we ever talk about Love Life?
No, we didn't.
All right. If you guys have not watched Love Life yet, it's the Anna Kendrick HBO Max original. It is 10 episodes of just Anna Kendrick gold. If you like Anna Kendrick, and her brand of humor and her just acting and wonderfulness, go watch it. That's my recommendation.
Yeah.
Before next week, go watch it. We're probably not going to talk about it, but like it's highly recommended. The other thing is I highly recommend Alpha Squadron, and comic wise this week, Strange Adventures issue 2 from Tom King. It's the Adam Strange series that he's writing, which is weird and wonderful and awesome, and he's being accused of murder. It is a very, very good read, and issue 1 is out. Issue 2 just came out. Well worth it. It's a 12-issue miniseries. Anything you recommend?
No, I've just been watching The Office lately, so been rewatching that. That's about it.
Yeah.
But we've talked about what's coming out. It's just I need a date for The Boys. That's the one.
Yeah.
I need a date for The Boys.
You do. You haven't been on a date in a long time, and you forget how to do it. And oh wait, not that kind of date. But man, I'm kind of desperate to talk about the NBA. I'm not gonna lie.
Oh yeah,
there's so much going on. That right there in itself is like my favorite drama right now because people are listening to Kyrie Irving for some reason.
Yeah. So honestly, I would probably watch Artemis Fowl twice more than I would have interest in NBA drama talk.
Oh, you're so wrong. Anyway.
Yeah, that's how much I care about the NBA.
But I love the NBA. I love the NBA.
Yeah, I don't like the NBA.
I know.
Well, no, I take that back. I don't like regular season NBA basketball. I actually do watch the playoffs, and I couldn't care less what these guys think and what they say because half of them. Anyway, let me just leave it at that. I'm not going to say anything else.
I'm gonna make an argument for why you should watch the NBA because it's actually the most fun basketball right now, and players actually stick around the league for years, so you can get a favorite player and cheer for them wherever they go. Unlike college
100%
basketball,
agree with that.
why they're only there for a season and they don't even finish the school year before they leave. Yeah. They just go, they play until March, and then they drop out, and it's ridiculous.
See, I'm not a huge fan of the brand of basketball of the NBA right now, except, like I said, when they come to playoff time because they turn up the defense.
Dude, the brand of basketball right now is so fast. Okay, never mind. It's so fast with the threes and everything. Like when you have guys like Giannis who are nearly 7 feet tall, who can just drain it from anywhere on the court and drive to the hoop.
Yeah, but he's shoots 29% from three though.
Great.
So he's not a.
But he's not like that. That's the thing
good.
though. But he can still make it. You know, but it's not like back in the day where the only guy who could shoot the long ball was Bill Laimbeer. Anywho, on that note. This has been Sports Chat on the Infamous Podcast.
I know, right? Oh, by the way,
I'm Dan Rydell. He's Taysom McCall. We'll be back next week. Have you ever watched Sports Night? The show Sports Night?
I have not.
The Sorkin show?
When it was out.
All right. So, just real quick, total rant. It's one of my favorite shows of all time, right? I love it. One of the coolest things about the show is anytime there's a college basketball game on one of the monitors in the background, it's Millett Hall.
Seriously?
Yeah. So one of the producers went to Miami and just kind of used Miami footage for stuff. It's either men's or women's, which is equally cool. So
that is pretty cool.
Yep. Anyway. All right. On that note, love and honor. Daryl and I both went to Miami. So yeah. All right. We'll see you guys next week. Next week, I came up with a really good idea, and I gave it to Daryl way too late this week. But we are going to talk about our favorite heist films and what makes a good heist film.
That's going to be fun.
It will be. And I might share my plan on how to get away with robbing a bank. Spoiler alert. Is that going
to be a TV show now?
Spoiler alert, leave no witnesses. All right. On that note, we'll see you guys next week. Talk to you later.
Peace out.
Bye. The Infamous Podcast is recorded in Kings Mills, Ohio, just north of Cincinnati, with new episodes out every Sunday. You can find more information about the show online at infamouspodcast.com or on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @InfamousPodcast. You can subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Play, iHeartRadio, or your favorite podcatching app. If you're enjoying the show, consider giving us a 5-star review on Apple Podcast or check out our Patreon at patreon.com/infamouspodcast for our new tiers and rewards. The Infamous Podcast is hosted and produced by me, Brian Tudor, with music provided by Michael Henry from meetmichaelhenry.com. You can find me on social media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram as @BrianTudor. So, whenever you're listening to the show, have a great day, night, evening, weekend, whenever it is, and we'll see you next time. Later.